Imagine temperatures plummeting to minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit. The kind of cold where every breath feels like swallowing needles. How did ancient hunters not just survive but thrive in one of the most unforgiving landscapes on Earth? Today, we're journeying into the heart of Siberia to unearth the incredible, ingenious strategies of the Yakutian people. These are the forgotten techniques that allowed them to master extreme cold and sustain life where others would perish. So what was in their Arctic arsenal? Forget what you've seen in movies. The Yakutian hunters were masters of efficiency and resourcefulness. Their primary weapon wasn't just a simple spear or bow, it was a masterpiece of engineering. The Yakutian composite bow. This wasn't a single piece of wood. It was a complex laminate of birch, sinew, and horn, all glued together with a special adhesive made from fish bladders. Why go through all that trouble? Because a simple wooden bow would become brittle and snap in the brutal cold. The composite design, however, remained flexible and powerful, capable of launching an arrow with enough force to take down a reindeer or even a moose from a distance. The materials were all sourced from their environment, the birch from the taiga forest, the sinew from the very animals they hunted. This wasn't just a weapon, it was a testament to their deep understanding of nature's properties. Crafting one of these bows was a sacred, meticulous process that could take months. First, they would carefully select a piece of birchwood, shaping it into the core of the bow. Then, they apply a layer of animal sinew to the back of the bow, the side facing away from the archer. This sinew acted like a powerful spring, storing immense energy when the bow was drawn. On the belly, the side facing the archer, they would glue on strips of horn, often from a mountain sheep or even a mammoth tusk found preserved in the permafrost. The horn resisted compression, perfectly balancing the tension from the sinew. The fish glue holding it all together was a secret recipe boiled for days until it reached the perfect consistency. It had to be strong enough to withstand the immense forces of the bow and flexible enough not to crack in the face stinging cold. Each bow was a unique piece of art, tailored to its owner's strength and stature. Alongside their bows, Yakutian hunters carried specialized spears. These weren't just long sticks with pointy ends. The spearheads were often crafted from bone, ivory, or stone, materials that held an edge and didn't become brittle like low-quality metal in the extreme cold. They had different spears for different purposes. Lighter, javelin-like spears could be thrown with an otlot or spear thrower to increase their range and velocity, perfect for hunting herds of reindeer in the open tundra. Heavier, sturdier spears were used for close-quarters encounters with larger game like bears or moose, where a powerful, decisive thrust was a matter of life and death. The shafts were made from straight, strong saplings, fire-hardened for durability. Every part of the tool, from the fletching on their arrows to the lashing on their spearheads, was designed for performance in a world where equipment failure meant starvation. But perhaps the most ingenious part of their hunting strategy wasn't about direct confrontation at all. It was about outsmarting their prey. In an environment where every calorie counts, chasing an animal for miles was a losing game. The Yakutians were masters of trapping, using their profound knowledge of animal behavior to their advantage. One of their most effective tools was the kalemka, a type of deadfall trap. Imagine a heavy log or a large stone, propped up by a delicate trigger mechanism. The hunter would place a piece of frozen fish or meat in just the right spot. An unsuspecting Arctic fox or wolverine, drawn by the scent, would nudge the trigger, releasing the crushing weight. The beauty of the kalemka was its simplicity and effectiveness. It worked passively, hunting for them while they conserved energy back in their yurts. The placement of these traps was a science in itself. Hunters would read the snow like a book, identifying animal trails, feeding spots, and dens. They knew that a fox would follow a certain ridgeline, or that a sable would investigate a fallen log. They'd set their traps along these natural highways of the taiga. They also developed incredibly clever snares, often using sinew or braided horsehair. These were nearly invisible against the snow and could be set to catch birds like ptarmigan or larger animals like reindeer by the leg. A particularly cunning design was a spring pole snare where a bent sapling provided the power to hoist the animal into the air, keeping it away from scavengers and ensuring the meat remained fresh in the natural deep freeze of the outdoors. Let's look at the physics of these traps in sub-zero conditions. Metal springs would fail, but a bent sapling retains its potential energy remarkably well. Wooden triggers, if not properly designed, could freeze solid. The Yakutians solved this by using specific types of wood and carefully carving the trigger components so that ice formation would unjam the mechanism. They often used a simple stick and notch system that was incredibly reliable. They were essentially creating complex machines out of sticks, stones, sinew machines that had to function perfectly at minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit. This wasn't just hunting, it was Arctic engineering at its finest. They had to account for how scents travel in cold, dense air, how the snow would drift and potentially cover their traps, and which bait would remain tempting even when frozen solid. Their knowledge extended beyond just the mechanics of the hunt. They practiced a form of sustainable harvesting that we are only now beginning to appreciate. They understood the life cycles of the animals they depended on. They knew not to overhunt a specific area, allowing populations to recover. Their hunting was deeply intertwined with their spiritual beliefs. Each animal was seen as a gift from the spirits of the forest, and there were rituals and rules to ensure this relationship remained in balance. A successful hunt was followed by ceremonies of gratitude, and every part of the animal was used. The meat provided food, the fur provided clothing, the bones and sinew became tools and thread, and even the organs were used for various purposes. Nothing was wasted. This holistic approach ensured their survival for generations in a land that would seem utterly inhospitable to outsiders. They weren't just conquering nature, they were living in harmony with it. So when you think of survival in extreme cold, remember the Yakutian hunters. They didn't just endure the cold, they mastered it. They transformed the harsh landscape of Siberia into a land of abundance through their ingenuity. Their deep ecological knowledge and their respect for the natural world, their composite bows, their specialized spears, and their brilliantly designed traps are a powerful reminder that the most effective technology is often born from a deep understanding of the environment. Their legacy is a story of resilience, innovation, and a profound connection to the land. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the frozen past. If you found these ancient strategies as fascinating as we did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the incredible history of human survival. Let us know in the comments which ancient culture's ingenuity you'd like us to explore next. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next video.